This week's Extra Life in F5 Live is proudly powered by Exa. Exa brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0 and 7.1 surround sound, plus extra features like dual mics and ultra low latency into their headsets, so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC, plus they won't break the bank. Learn about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/Exa. Which is not what it says at the top of this screen, which I apologize for. That is spelled wrong. Anyway, yay, graphics. All right, so we know that anytime there's a closed ecosystem, you're going to have piracy, whether it be, CDs and people ripping them, or games and people making ROMs. You're always going to have piracy over digital content, even physical content. We see physical products ripped off all the time, and a little bit of all of that is what's involved in what's going on right now. There is a group called Team Xecutor that was doing a couple of things. First, they were making hardware to unlock the Nintendo Switch consoles. They claimed that their main purpose for this was to support the ever-growing homebrew community. The gaming world has always had an interesting relationship with homebrew. The PlayStation Vita, I think, was one of the most unlocked and homebrewed consoles ever. But there was legitimately homebrew gaming happening on that console, as opposed to what's happening on the Switch, where people were actually unlocking it so they could put illegal ROMs onto the console, basically play games they didn't pay for. Now, theoretically, could Team Xecutor have claimed that they did not know, they did not have control over what people were doing with the consoles once they had them? Yes, theoretically they could make that argument. The problem with the argument is the same group also operated several ROM sites where they were distributing illegal content. Whoops! Plausible deniability out the window. So basically, the whole team has pled guilty to their involvement in this. One person in particular, Gary OPA, whose real name, by the way, is Gary Bowser, which you couldn't have written that any better for the villain of this piece to be named Bowser when talking about Nintendo. But
so does he have a son with the same name, and is he Bowser Jr.?
Oh, you can only hope. So he has already agreed to pay $4.5 million to Nintendo. So if you needed any proof that this scheme was profitable, it certainly sounds like it was more profitable than crypto mining. $4.5 million to Nintendo in the criminal case, and another $10 million in a civil case. But here's where things get interesting. Prosecutors are looking for 60 months in prison as well, on top of nearly $15 million in damages.
Do we know that he actually has $15 million? Because you can sue someone for more money than they have. And so, yeah, he could he could be liable for $15 million and only have
$18 in his pocket.
$18 in his pocket. That just means that they're never going to get their money, right?
And he's never going to get a
future.
Yeah, he's never going to get a house or a car or any kind of loan ever again.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So there's that, but he's not going to. Right. I don't think that because the assumption that he has that amount of money, I would bet that these did not make them that much money.
True.
I mean, maybe they made them some, but I doubt they made $15 million selling.
Yeah, probably not
this stuff.
Probably not.
So,
But you never know, because selling a $60 game for $5 can be incredibly lucrative, especially after you sold them the hardware to make it possible.
Oh, wait, so they were selling the ROMs? They weren't free ROMs?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
So
they were making money on the ROMs and the hardware.
yeah. So all kinds of problems in this thing. But they are looking for 60 months in prison, 5 years. And so so this guy was not the leader. He was not the founder. He was theoretically a lowly member of the organization, but it turns out he was kind of the face of it. Well, at least the voice of it, because nobody would be the face of something like that. He was the voice of it and the chief salesperson of it, which is interesting. And so it sounds like prosecutors, probably in conjunction with a Nintendo, are looking to make an example out of this guy so that future would-be unlocker, hacker, criminals here reconsider their decision. The defense is saying, but he's not in charge. Shouldn't you be going after the big numbers for the guy who started all this? And they're like, well, everybody knows this guy, so one thing at a time. 60 months, let's go. It's definitely interesting. Personally, I don't think it's a problem. It's willful copyright violation, sales of hardware and software that were IP violation, and he admitted to it. This seems like an open and shut case to me.
I mean, it sounds like that, but on the other hand, I mean, I think you got to look at, like, there's a lot of people who commit violent crimes that are not put in jail for that amount of time. That's true. 5 years is a long time to go to jail for something that is not violent, not a violent crime, not drug trafficking, not human trafficking, not organized crime, not terrorism, but selling pirated software. I mean, it's when you think about how much, how little time a lot of people get for, like, really serious offenses. Like, really, by serious, I mean, this is serious, but I mean, like, ones where the victim was not Nintendo's bottom line, but, like, right, a real person, real people. The 5 years does seem excessive in that regard. Although I also feel really bad for him, like, in the prison yard, because, like, if people ask you, like, what you were in for, and it was like, like armed robbery, murder, and you're like, copying Nintendo ROMs, like
selling Nintendo games.
I mean, like that.
True.
I mean, that just seems like it's going to get you shivved or something, and if you tell people that that's why you're in prison. So.
Oh, true. Personally, I think that the fact that they're screwing up on one thing, which they are, right? I think there's an under, I don't know, reporting is the word, and it's wrong. Under punishment for a lot of things. But I don't. If you take those other things out of the equation, right? 5 years doesn't seem terribly. We don't know the exact scale of what was happening here, right? We don't know all the numbers. But for something that 15 million in damages was easily agreed to by all parties, it definitely seems like it would probably be a fairly fair thing But, maybe the problem is that we're not, punishing violent crimes and things appropriately, which is its own issue.
But this is a case of economic damage, so you can see why the economic damages would be really high. Also, to be fair, right? Let's say Gary OPA doesn't actually have that much money, which I'm going to guess that he did not, right?
Probably.
What difference does it make to him whether he owes Nintendo $5 million or $15 million if he can't pay it?
True.
So he might as well save the money on lawyers and just agree to whatever they say they want, because if he's never going to be able to pay it, he's going to be in debt to them the rest of his life. It doesn't really matter whether it's 5 million or whether it's 1 million, 5 million, or 15 million, right?
True.
So there's no point in bargaining over that. I would guess. So, but yeah, it seems like a lot of prison time So,
well, the defense is asking for 19 months. My guess is the prosecution probably shot high, looking for something in the middle. I wouldn't be surprised if 24 is what is settled at, somewhere in that range. But it's definitely an interesting situation. The whole thing is an interesting mess that has been interesting to follow, and definitely took a turn this week. I wasn't expecting them to ask for 60. But I also wasn't expecting them the defense to go 19, basically a year and a half. That was actually higher than I was expecting the defense to go. But I'm guessing 24 is probably what they're going to agree to. But it makes sense if the goal is to make an example here, especially for Nintendo, who is almost always the victim of game pirating going back decades. I can see them trying to make an example out of the primary person that people interacted with in this scheme. I get what they're doing, but I think 60 is not going to happen. It's probably going to be more in the 24 range. But that's just a guess. We will keep you updated. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course hit the notification bell, because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.